Hi everybody, it's Matt from Bottleneck Homestead. It's been a while since I've uploaded a new video, so I thought I'd shoot one today and show you what I have been up to. As you can see, I started last fall on building my small house. This is a 16 by 24, so it'd be 382 square feet if memory serves me right. I'm building it on a pure foundation. These are telephone poles, and no, I'm not worried about using telephone poles, so please don't bug me about that. They are cut off and buried 5 foot in the ground with concrete down at the bottom. I dug the holes out by hand, which took forever. If you have a post hole digger on a tractor, or if you have a friend that has a tractor with a post hole digger or skid steer, I would highly recommend doing that if you want to save some time. I mixed the concrete by hand. I went in, used the pickup to get the aggregate, and then used bags of Portland. Mixed it all by myself and poured it all by myself. I used a engine hoist with these eye hooks in the middle of the top of the post on each of the corners in order to hold them into place, and then I'd pour concrete around them. It was a method that actually worked pretty well because I could square them up as I went, and I only goofed it up once, and I have one big chunk of concrete here that is proof that I didn't do it exactly perfect. But once I got the 4 corner posts put in, I was able to run that string across all 4 corners, and then the rest of the poles I was able to just use the engine hoist, bring them up to that level, and hold them there while I poured them. And it came out really well. My nephew came out here last week, or not last week, the week before last week, and helped me carry the beams out from the shop. And we laid that far beam on, and I set my level on it, and it was just level. It was good to go. So it worked really well, a lot better than what I thought it was going to. I was pretty nervous about it. I only had to add one little shim, which you can see here, just less than a 1/4 inch of plywood underneath there. The beams themselves are 2x8s that are staggered with a 1/2 inch of plywood in between them, and then I put a 2x4 mud sill on top. The 2x8s are, from the tables that I found, the 2x8s are the minimum for the span that I have. But the 2x4 mud sills that are on top of them, and I'm calling them mud sills just because that's what they're called when they're sitting on top of a concrete foundation. I'm not sure if that's a proper term or not. So if you know, go ahead and put it in the comments. But the 2x4s really helped when moving the beams around. It really helped to steady them up and to help keep them straight because in any wood, as it settles, especially when it's out in the elements, it'll twist a little bit here and there. But it helps hold them into place. And these beams are called built-up beams, from what my research has shown me. But they're all squared up. I've got the rim joists are attached to each other, but they are not yet attached to the beams themselves. That's my next step that I've got to take before I start attaching these floor joists, to which I had, and you can kind of see them down there. I had these other 2x6s, to which the 2x6, once again, it was the minimum for this span, according to the books that I have. And technically this house will still be a little bit overbuilt, but I'm not too worried about how much deflection that has, because there's not going to be a whole lot going into it, since it's just a little 1 bedroom you know, with as small of a full bath as possible. But these other 2x6s were a little short, and they didn't cover enough of this mud sill. They'd only come out to about right here. So I decided to go in and just go ahead and buy the 8-foot 2x6s. And those other 2x6s, I'll just go ahead and use them for my wall studs, since they're just over a typical wall stud length. They're 93 inches instead of 92 and 5/8. I've thought about just using them at the 93 inches because I've heard of guys using full 8-footers and covering it up with trim inside the house with a little bit of gap that's left above and below the sheetrock. But those 8-footers, they cross that entire beam, which gives them a little bit extra strength, allows them to overlap, and it means that I don't have to buy another 2x6 to go down the center here and use joist hangers, to which there's nothing wrong with joist hangers, but and they can make things easier, but in this case it's just added expense that's not 100% necessary, as I have a very large box of ring shank nails that my nail gun can just barely drive. So I'm not too concerned about it. Houses were built this way for a long time, and my mother's house was built in the 40s, and it has 2x6s at this span, and it doesn't have that much deflection in the floors or so. And with it being built in the 40s, you know, it's almost 80 years old and it's still doing just fine. And for this being a temporary house, because I do intend to build a bigger, more permanent home, hopefully someday in the future I'll get married and we'll build a bigger, more permanent home over there where that old trailer house and the field-to-field camper that I'm living in is located at. And Twitch Jack should enjoy an actual house as well. He's really patient. He's a good boy. Right, Jack? You're a good boy. But that is where I'm at on the Bottleneck Homestead. Stay tuned. I do intend to keep you updated as I keep building.